So you're in the market to purchase your first home. But on one hand, you have a group of friends telling you,
do not purchase a home right now. It is the absolute worst time because it is a seller's market.
And then on the other hand, you have a group of friends that are telling you,
hey, interest rates are at extreme lows. You would be crazy not to purchase a house at this very moment.
How do you decide what you need to do? Welcome to NYM, a channel dedicated to financial literacy and wealth building for the younger generation. My name is Christopher Bell, and today I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about making your first home purchase. So, when is the right time to purchase a home? And if I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys, there is no perfect time. It's all relative. For instance, right now, we're seeing that interest rates are at all-time lows, right? So what does that do? It creates a very high demand for people to go out and buy new houses. So the purchase price increases because of the demand. Vice versa, if interest rates were extremely high, then there would not be that much of a demand and sellers would be looking to do more on the purchase price of the home in order to incentivize you to purchase it. Interest rates and purchase price are always going to kind of run in opposition of one another. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, okay? You can get your best deals on the purchase price when interest rates are sky high, and you can typically expect to pay a lot more when interest rates are at all-time lows like they are right now. Now, the Federal Reserve spokesperson Jerome Powell just announced that the Federal Reserve is going to back off on buying secured bonds on mortgages. So what does that mean? It basically means that in 2022, you're pretty much guaranteed to see a spike in interest rates. So take that for what you will, or for what it is, and you'll have to make the decision. My personal opinion, again, this is not financial advice, is you buy real estate and wait. You never wait to buy real estate, okay? But again, you're gonna have to decide what's best for you and make a move depending on your personal budget. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this video, which is going to be about how do first-time home buyers go about purchasing their first home and the steps needed to make that process happen. So the first thing you're going to want to do when looking for your first home is you're going to want to get pre-approved. Okay, this is when you go to a bank or any type of other lender and they let you know how much of a house you can afford based on your current financials. Okay, so from there, after you get your pre-approval letter, you'll take that to a realtor, which is a person who helps you find your home and navigate through the home buying process. You'll take that pre-qualification letter to him or her, and they will start to send you homes based on your criteria. So after you put in an offer and your offer gets accepted, you're going to enter what we call the due diligence period. Okay, the due diligence period is basically a period of time, typically about 2 weeks on a typical 30-day closing. It's a period of time where you get to go inspect the house and you get the house appraised to make sure that it is actually worth the price that you're purchasing it for. Okay, if it's not, then there are typically little clauses inside of the purchase contract that state that you're able to back out of your contract. So there are two types of deposits or checks that you're going to have to submit to the sellers upon having your offer accepted. They are the due diligence check and the earnest money check. Okay, so the due diligence check is a check that shows them that you're a serious buyer. So if you give them that due diligence check and you do not close on the property for any reason at any time, that check is gone. That money you're not going to get back. Okay, now the earnest money check, you typically have about a 2-week period. If it's a 30-day closing period, you typically have a 2-week period to go and get your inspection, so on and so forth. Let's say you find something in the inspection that just says, whoa, I do not want to purchase this home. Okay, you can back out of the contract and you can still get your earnest money check back. Now, if you go past the 2-week, typically 2 weeks, due diligence period, and you have not canceled the contract, and then after that 2-week mark, you cancel that contract, you're not gonna get the earnest money back. on top of not getting your due diligence money back. Okay, but let's assume that everything goes well, then both of those checks are going to go back to you at closing in the form of a credit. Another thing you're going to want to look into is getting a land survey, okay? This can cause problems for certain types of properties. For instance, let's say you have neighbors on both sides of you of the specific property that you're looking at purchasing. And let's say one of them have a fence that is on your property line. That can cause a problem because who wants other people's property on your property? Okay, and it's nothing personal, it's just that that's your land. You're buying that land, you want to be able to utilize all of your land. So you want to go and get a land survey to make sure that nobody is basically trespassing on your land. And if they are, you want to have these types of things addressed prior to closing on the home. So you're still in the due diligence period and everything's checked out. It appraised like it was supposed to. The inspector said that, nothing was found that was out of the ordinary. And trust me, they're always going to find something, okay? Even on new construction, there's always going to be something, okay? But let's just say everything's fixable. There's no problems, no major problems. Well, then what's going to happen is your loan is going to enter underwriting. Underwriting is basically them looking at your financials with a microscope. They're going to know that second grade girlfriend that you lent $5 to that she never gave back. They're going to ask, what happened with that money? They're going to want to know everything as it relates to your financials, okay? The biggest drive home point that I want to emphasize right here is that during the entire process, you're not going to want to open up any new lines of credit. You're not going to want to do anything drastic that would affect your eligibility of this loan. Because if that bank finds out about it, which they will, guys, there's no getting around it. If they find out about it, that can definitely prevent you from closing on that home. And if you don't close, once again, you're going to lose that due diligence deposit. Now, just tapping into the type of financing you can do, okay? I'm not going to go into each individual type of loan, but I do want to point out two options that a lot of people are just not as familiar with. Number one being an FHA loan. An FHA loan is a loan from the Federal Housing Authority that basically allows most buyers to obtain a property with putting 3.5% down, okay? The big take-home point here is that it does not have to be a single-family home. So if you're somebody who's thinking about investing and you currently do not have a primary property that you're living in, I would urge you to consider multifamily, because as long as the property is 4 units or less, it will qualify for an FHA loan. Okay, so what that means is you could go get a fourplex, for example, and you could live in one of the units and rent out the other 3. It's called house hacking. So that is one tip that a lot of people do not know. You can qualify a fourplex on an FHA loan. It is how a lot of people get started in real estate investing, okay? And then after 1 year, you can move out, you could sell it, you can do whatever you want without paying capital gains tax because it was a primary property. I'm not getting into all of that. That's for later videos. I want to keep this simple and to the point for the first-time home buyers out there. But this is NYM. We want to normalize young millionaires. So as a young millionaire in the making, I would urge you to look into multifamily for your first home purchase. Another thing you can look into is look into lenders who do 100% financing, okay? So a lot of places will give you 100% financing and they'll typically give you a little bit more of a higher interest rate as a result, okay? But you can always refinance that interest rate later on down the road. So, for example, what me and my wife did, she actually was my fiance at the time, but what we did was we did 100% financing. We had a terrible interest rate, okay? And then we actually convinced the seller of my home to give us half of our closing costs. So I think at the time our closing costs were like $7,000. So we paid half of that, which was like $3,500. And then we only had to cover the inspection for the property and the appraisal. So we might have spent like $4,300, and that's all it took to move into a brand new construction house. Okay, so look into 100% financing. And like I said, your interest rate is going to be a little bit higher, but you can always refinance later on. Okay, so if you don't have the money up front, this is a great option to take advantage of. Last but not least, guys, I want to talk about how much house you can afford. Okay, and there's two things that I want to really emphasize on this point. First is the 25% rule. So one general rule of thumb is you do not want your mortgage to cost more than 25% of what you make in a given month or annually. So, for example, if you make $100,000 a year, you would not want your housing payment to cost more than $25,000 per year. Okay, and again, it's just a general rule of thumb, but I've abided by it my entire real estate investing career, and it hasn't done me any harm since. So I would definitely recommend the 25% rule. Now, on top of that 25% rule, you're going to want to pay attention to your debt to income ratio. This is for all of my new grads, okay? I'm speaking to y'all because I made a huge mistake when I was 23 years old. I went out and bought a brand new motorcycle, okay? I dropped 12 grand on a bike, I financed the bike, but I dropped $12,000 on a brand new motorcycle, okay? I wasn't looking to purchase a house then, but if I was looking to purchase a house, that purchase would have significantly hurt me because my debt to income ratio would have went way up as a result. So for instance, if you're making $3,000 a month and you have $1,000 in bills, okay, your debt to income ratio, it's not terrible. That's pretty good. It's about 33%. It's not bad. But on the other hand, if you go purchase a new car and that car payment is about $500, well, then you're looking at total debt going out, you're looking at $1,500, okay? That is half of what you make. And to a lender, they're going to look at you and say, your debt to income ratio is way too high. You're spending 50% of everything you make on bills. We're not going to give you a mortgage as a result. So I know it is tempting, guys. You've been driving that hoopty that you've had since high school. You finally graduate college. You get a good job and you're thinking, I deserve it. I need to go purchase a brand new Benz, or I need to go purchase a brand new whatever. It's a trap because ultimately it's going to cost you on your future endeavors, i.e. when you go to purchase a house and you're not able to get the type of house you want. Okay, so that being said, hold off on purchasing the new car until you get your priorities in line and you get the house first. Again, this is not advice. This is not financial advice. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm just a guy on YouTube. But at the same time, I would highly recommend you listen to what I'm saying, as this hurts a lot of people, and most people don't know until they already have that payment. As always, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video about how to purchase your first home in 2022. I hope you found it very informative, and I hope that you'll put this stuff into practice, okay? I'm speaking from experience. Everything that I've listed today or talked about, I have ran into firsthand. I myself, I'm a real estate investor. I'm actually getting ready to close on my 8th property this upcoming Friday. So I've done this thing a few times, okay? So I hope that you'll, take heed to what I'm saying, and it will help you to get into your first home. As always, please like this video, comment down below if it helped you at all. I want to hear you. Comment down below. I read every single comment. So comment down below. If I didn't touch on certain topics that you feel as though I should have touched on, please feel free to let me know that as well. Hit the subscribe button. We're almost at 100 subscribers in my first 4 days of launching this YouTube channel. Man, I'm so overwhelmed by all of the support that a lot of you have just, shown in this past few days. It is crazy. I want this channel to grow because I feel like more people just need to understand and they need to know this information. So if you would please hit the subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, guys.